TNC's turn to ban. TNC's turn to ban. Dire team ban. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Reserve time. TNC's turn to pick. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Reserve time.
Needs assassin.
Dire team pick. Ten seconds remaining.
Sand King.
Dire team pick. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Reserve time.
Silencer.
TNC's turn to pick. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining.
Up to be a a one-way game perhaps, but it's best of one, so anything can happen, right?
Reserve
Yeah,
time.
HappyFeet, their coach Scant, has been around the SCA scene for a bit. Used to be from Jules, Jesse Vash, and I believe even Jo for a little bit. So he's been in the scene, saying once again that their team, they like their off-lane play, and they like their chances against a lot of squads. Like, they're doing okay in scrims for the most part, however indicative that may be of actual results, but they expect it to be more of a middle-of-the-pack team. The results have not really justified that so far, so they've got to find their form a little bit, which varies according to him from day to day. And then TNC has kind of established himself as one of the stronger teams in the region. Obviously, they made that big change where Rior, their captain, was replaced by 1437. They hadn't even played with him before that change came. So it was literally, they were at Star Ladder in Shanghai. I was there talking to him. I was like, hey, have you guys even played together yet? Seen him in the hotel? And they're like, no, this is our first time playing with Theben tomorrow. And that ended up working out really well. They made it all the way to the finals. I think they lost 3-2 to Liquid.
Yep.
And those were the very first games on the patch for them. So for them, it was like, they picked Jakiro every game at that point, Sand King. They seemed to be defining the meta a little bit with a couple of very fast-paced wins, and really it was only until Liquid came along that they met their match in that tournament. They beat IG, VGJ, and some other strong Chinese teams.
Yes, they did.
So pretty good results for them, and they've continued to carry that forward as one of the favorites of this region. I think they're undefeated in the SCA qualifier so far.
Yep, 4-0 on top right there as mentioned. So, yeah, it's kind of a side thing as well before we talk too much about the draft here, but off of what you were saying with that Star Ladder, you really got to wonder, if they beat Liquid there instead, are they invited? Are they going to TI? It could be that small of a difference of one game.
Yeah, that's something we talked about constantly on that Starlighter panel is this land valuable enough where if you win this, you get the regional invite? Especially because if you look at SEA around that time, is there any other team that really sweeps you off your feet when it comes to getting invite? Not really, right? Like you had Faceless that was going through some ups and downs. You had Clutch who was coming out of the qualifiers but not doing well on land. So it felt like that invite spot was kind of wide open. Fnatic obviously had just reformed, so they hadn't really played yet. I think since then Fnatic had only played in Zotac. That was their only land.
Yeah.
So... And that was probably land where if they win, they're not going to get a direct invite based on that, based on the field of teams there. So it was pretty hard to say. There were a lot of possibilities for the SEA region, and then TNC, as you mentioned, not able to get that land win to get the direct invite, but one of the favorites here for sure, especially with 3 spots.
Here we are, the draft. Speaking of all that, Nyx Assassin into Lina so far coming out. Sand King into Silencer for the side of HappyFeet. Silencer Batrider is actually a combo we've seen quite a bit throughout this event by a lot of these teams, but as you notice, Batrider even banned by HappyFeet as well as a Night Stalker. LC and Puck initially banned by the side of TNC, but yeah, getting their hands on the Nyx Assassin, a hero that could definitely play in either the offlane or that 4 position, and makes him one of the stronger earlier picks, you could argue. And then of course Lina as another versatile hero, usually expect her to be mid, but once again could also be that 5 if instead you want to go that direction. So, but back to Nyx Assassin real quickly, is there a role that you almost prefer, either the offlane or the 4, or is it just whatever's comfortable for the team really makes sense?
I think it could go either way, but it kind of depends on the cores of the other team. If you have cores that are more vulnerable, which you see very often, like kind of in cores, then you want that Nyx to get up a little bit more farm. He's got more presence. He gets to that level 6 faster. He's able to be a presence on the map in terms of ganking. If you get to that 6 bit late, then it's more like you don't really have too much kill power. It's more of a scouting type of thing. But then he still does scale with like the mana burn and such into the mid to late game. So it can work out either way, but also like one of the smaller things is he doesn't really have a reliable stun in the traditional way. Better Nyx players will be able to hit them, but not necessarily that easy for him to land stuns if he's roaming as a 4 and to be able to get kills. So if he falls behind on levels and he gets that 6 really late, it's just less of a map presence. But Silencer is also something that has a bit of flexibility. So you mentioned the flex picks for the side of HappyFeet. Sand King can play 3 or 4. Silencer we see as a core mid sometimes, especially against certain matchups. Does a pretty good job, so that's also a possibility for them too.
3rd pick coming out for HappyFeet. We'll see what direction they decide to go here. Whenever I see a Nyx Assassin as well, I feel like an Invoker is a possibility. The idea that he's great at setting up those Sunstrikes, especially for those earlier kills, with roaming around now. They already have the Lina, so again, the likelihood that it would be something like the Invoker, maybe a little less relevant right here, but and I don't know. I assume Cuckoo can play Invoker just fine. Faceless Void is the 3rd pick for HappyFeet, though. Obviously, we just saw Faceless Void game, sure enough, in that offlane being run right there by Mineski, that was. So TNC going to come out with that 3rd pick, though, for themselves. But would Invoker be a strong option right here, or is it something that you wouldn't see?
I think it's kind of unlikely. I feel like Lina is more likely to be a core, and they don't mind picking Cuckoo's core a little bit earlier sometimes, maybe especially like a Queen of Pain or something like that. Something where he can kind of make a lot of plays and control some tempo, and then they usually tend to hide Raven's pick for last.
Okay.
I don't think it's going to be something like an Invoker in this case. You have the Silence, you have things that hold him in place and close the gap with him that he doesn't necessarily want to deal with, and I'm not sure if that would be a good selection for them. Also, if they do choose to run a mid-silencer does very well against Invoker. Basically shut him down in lane. So that's also something they have to be worried about, especially if their only answer to that is a 4-position Nyx as a roamer. So
reserve time.
Darkseer coming out with that third pick for TNC, so pretty much puts Nyx Assassin now at that 4 position. Darkseer, of course, in the offlane. Cuckoo's played Queen of Pain at least in a couple of those games. We casted them twice. I want to see yesterday, and he happened to play them in both of those games for TNC. So another hero that would be interesting. But again, with the Lina, you figure he's probably going to end up with that. But a similar style, though. To be fair, him even something like a Puck, all those really aggressive natured heroes. And actually, also speaking of that, we were casting some of the games yesterday, like I said, of TNC, and Cuckoo is one of those very entertaining players where he'll make those ballsy plays and get kills out of it as a result, which is great. But then there's those other moments where you're kind of like, what were you thinking? Mushu, we saw last game, in fact, actually had a couple of those instances as well on the Lena, sure enough. So it seems like, again, maybe just a trend in Southeast Asia in general. But looking forward to seeing what happens this time around.
That's fun to watch, though. Those kind of feast or famine type of players, where that they're the most entertaining players to watch. The Chinese have a term for that, where it's kind of like the artist. They apply that to Eternal Envy and some others, where it's kind of like he's an artist because he sees things that other people don't see, whether it's good or bad. Like he sees something and he goes in, but it ends up being a feed or looks really weird. But it's because he saw something that nobody else did.
Anti-Mage coming out for TNC. By the way, Razor, of course, with the 4th pick, picking up by HappyFeet here. So both sides really get their, you'd assume to be their 1 positions with their 4th picks thrown out there. And that means HappyFeet would now need a, what do they need? Mid? Well, no, if they're going silencer mid. So either support or mid. That's kind of the question mark now. If you're TNC, think about what to ban here.
5 seconds remaining.
And I wouldn't be surprised if HappyFeet still isn't sure what they're going to do with the silencer, right? They're still keeping it open. Depending on what maybe this final pick is even. Yeah, so they're going to ban the co-op themselves. So yeah, they just want to take away a mid option. They go Jakiro. Rose loves Jakiro. He's made that point.
Yep, and he was calling himself Rose for a bit, but his ID is 1437 now, and we're all used to calling him 1437. So I might have to just keep him on that.
All right. TA, the final pick by HappyFeet. So they do get a middle option in the end, and it actually is going to be a support silencer after it's all said and done. So, yeah, Jakiro into the TA. Looking at these drafts here, Jack, is there a direction you lean towards?
I actually like HappyFeet's draft. I don't think they're going to win this game, but I do like their draft. They have 3 very strong independent cores in their lanes. They have the ability to snowball quickly. They have pretty good control, and they have some high ground push as well. Whereas TNC feels like they need a little bit more space. The Lena needs a good start. The anti-mage needs to be protected. At the same time, though, I just think in terms of despair, I think TNC is demonstrably a better team. I think that might be enough for them to continue to run this game. But watch out for how this draft goes. If HappyFeet find the rhythm, if as Coach Scant says, it's really about form and day-to-day, I think they have the draft in this case to take this game and really pressure things, keep that anti-mage from getting big enough to get.
Bigger. Obviously, it's leaning towards TNC, and really even before you knew the records, but it's a new day. At the beginning of it, anything can happen. Like I always go back to. So we'll see if HappyFeet is able to make that anything can happen right here. They definitely have a lineup that could get out of control. TA is one of those heroes that, in the hands of Ben-Hur here, that can get out of hand. So just a matter of time and a matter of finding that opening. Jakiro, though, meanwhile, going to get some vision down as he's smoked up. For some reason, again, my lock key isn't working. Oh, yeah. There we go. It works now. We're good. We figured it out. All right, but Anti-Mage, always fun to see this hero. One of the few that still goes the Battle Fury. An item that part of me almost wishes we saw more.
That still goes the Battle Fury. It's like a lost ancient right, lost ancient tradition, respected only by the purest of anti-mages themselves.
Yeah, that's true though, man. Like no one else. It's just not seen. Like
solid in his ways, sticking tradition for thousands of years.
Why? Well, so why is that though? Like, what is the logic there? Like that he's just still a hero that goes it when really no one else does.
Just a mix of how much you need to flash farm on him, and what he does is carry for other carriers who either have tools or ready to do that and don't necessarily need it.
Yeah.
Used to see Juggernaut still get it a lot, but not so much.
No, yeah, it's not really him anymore either. By the way, that was kind of important right there. Sam-H's actually forced to level up his Surge because of the trouble he ran into. Now, he's going to have to use it again, but he is actually... Oh, my God, the body blocks right there.
Does he have a Mango, though? Oh, no, he's got a Clarity, and Sam-H is going to knock off the Clarity with a punch. But he does have boots, so... Sam-H, he's going to get off another
Surge there. So he will survive in the long run, but again, that's really... Because that means no Ion Shell, obviously, to place there in the beginning, and Jules is like, I was planning to roam anyway, so it's not like he's out of position.
Yeah, but now he's in kind of a tough spot because he doesn't have the mana for a burrow strike, so he might have to either go back to base or go pull some creeps. And it's actually pretty nice for his home anyway. It slows him down a little bit, but he doesn't give up any kills, and he stalls the Sand King from being able to threaten him. And now that he knows that, he can go up to the lane with a little bit more comfort in getting out these Iron Shells. As there is another clarity coming out, given by Jesse Vash to the Sand King, his ally.
I feel like this is pretty important, though, because like how important maybe can you make the point of it? Because the fact that he does not have Iron Shell from the beginning, it seems like that as far as getting any kind of experience or frankly any kind of money with those Iron Shell's last hits, it's just not going to be happening now as a result of that.
Yeah, you might be expecting a tough time anyway with the Razor there, but yeah, that's going to make things very difficult for him. It's almost worth. There's a school of offlane philosophy. I don't want to call it philosophy, but where people are like, hey, wouldn't you rather have died once or twice but be level 3 and be able to be a presence in lane than to just have absolutely nothing and have the supports even be ahead of you, but you avoid dying? So, you know, I'm not too sure what direction you take here, but he's going to try some real theatrics in terms of pulling creeps.
Yeah, I guess this is something you could just do instead. You know, with the Surge right here, he's going to wait until the Burrow Strike comes out.
Jules is going to wait for him to start the Surge animation before he Burrow Strikes, so they are just going to keep chasing him.
The game of cat and mouse then. Now they're not going to do anything in the end, yeah. Yeah, so it's like he has to do one thing for him to do his, and then it's just the mind games coming into play, so he will just walk it off. But that's a fair point, but yeah, it goes back to he's just a half a level now. Been able to get middle lane. Ooh, Ben-Hur getting really low, but manages to stay alive. Doesn't have a salve, though. He does have a Fairy Fire and a couple Tangos. Going to be living life on the edge right here as Sand King is rotating around, and you look at Lena using all her bottle charges right there. It's going to start ferrying the bottle now. But she sends it through the jungle, so it will not be picked off. Oh, no, she's going to bring it back in, actually. Oh, Sand King might have seen that. Can he get here in time, though?
Yes.
That's a bottle kill if he gets it. Yeah, he's going to get it.
Radiant's courier has been killed.
Strike? Yep. Oh, he's dead. I don't know, though. Like, is that worth it? That's a bottle for Lena that he took away right there.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it does give his mid some good breathing room. And then you look at bottom lane, the anti-mage with that mana breakup, he's put 2 points in it. And then you talk about being able to threaten Faceless Void. One of the ways to do something against Faceless Void is to burn his mana, and then he doesn't have the option to time walk to reverse the damage. So this is one of those kind of odd matchups where he can actually do pretty well against him and really scare that Faceless Void, put a lot of pressure on him. Unlike the last game we casted where that Void was kind of just having his way, doing whatever he wanted.
And a little bit different here. Nyaj is scouting around currently. Gonna find the Jakiro. That initial bash proc right off the bat, but he's gonna harass this pull attempt that he's trying to do right here. Liquid Fire comes out though, so the back and forth. Ben-Hur middle lane, feeling the pressure from Nyx Assassin, with Dragon Slave even on top of that from Lena, but again her regen really lacking, so currently out of mana now, and life pool below half-life, so I have to be pretty careful about that as Darkseer gets out with the TP before they're able to make any plays on him. He manages to hit level 2 though at least, so now he does have that Iron Shell. He's going to try to use that to eventually get that Soul Ring and continue progressing from there.
Kind of a risky move there. I think this ward saw the Sand King over there, so he knew that the Sand King wasn't waiting to collect the bounty rune or stun him, so he managed to surge and make a run for that bounty, and then after picking up both bounty runes, he gets level 2. If he's not more careful there, as he might go down here, if he's not more careful there, he runs straight into the Sand King and just dies outright without getting anything, but he is going to give first blood once again, as it is.
And Jules will once again give up a death to the second tier tower as a result of it. So another case of, is it really worth it? I mean, it's a credit kill to Sam H right there after it's all said and done.
It's not bad. You get the int on the silencer, which again isn't huge.
True.
You get that first blood gold, which definitely helps him because he's been standing there zoning. So that'll be his boots that'll allow him to buy a set of wards if he needs to. So it's not bad.
Jules going in deep once again on Nyx Assassin right here. He doesn't have his spiked carapace actually. Might be level 2. He just get the mana burn instead with the impel. He goes down TA. Taking some good damage, getting low herself, but gonna stay alive. Not the same for Silencer though. He will eventually tick down right there and be killed in return. So a 1-for-1 exchange between the two as the, let's say, just misses on TA with a refraction up anyways. In fact, Ben-Hur is looking comfortable about going in. The trap hop. He wants this kill, but it's gonna come at a cost, and he won't even get the kill in the end. He explodes. The TP in as well from Tim's. He delivers him his bottle, ready to go on top of that. So very well played right there. And now Cuckoo's going to heal on up with that bottle, get great value out of it. That's got to feel frustrating for TA. So that little bit of timing that TA had where the no bottle on Lena is now not only lost, but she dies shortly after. Or pretty much right as she gets the bottle back.
Hey, he wasn't backing down. I respect that. I love that about C-Dota. He is not backing down. He's going to come in and go for that kill. Seen that from Raven before as well, multiple times when he was playing mid as, say, Juggernaut against Ember. But yeah, that's going to be a pretty crucial pickup there for Cuckoo.
Top lane, you have Silencer rotating around. Not really much he's going to be able to do against that Darkseer, though. He's basically sitting next to the tower. Nyx Assassin, speaking of rotations, and what do you make of him not getting the spiked carapace? I mean, I guess he's playing this really heavy roam, Nick, so is that where the logic comes into play, that he just wants more just output of damage?
Yeah, and he's not really worried too much about, like, there's nothing really big for him to carapace right now. Like, if it's a right click, if it's a stun, which, like, well, he'll still be stunned even if he carapaces. There's nothing in the way of retaliation that he's extremely worried about right now. But he definitely needs a second point up and stun if he wants effectiveness on his roam.
Hero actually going to be stunned right here. Impel is ready to go on a Razor, but the Eye of the Storm is up. Out comes the Plasma Field as well. Jakiro's going to fall, and so does Tim's on that Nyx. Will they get the third to finish off the job? Sam H goes down, a double kill for Jo, a hat trick for the team. 3-0 here at this top lane. That Eye of the Storm doing so much work in the midst of that, but obviously Sand King and Silencer assisting plenty. 3 versus 3 fight goes completely in favor of HappyFeet there.
Yeah, and a clutch Magic Stick pickup from Jo. Like, often you would have expected someone in his position to not pick it up because, like, where was he getting Magic Stick charges, you know? It's not like this Darkseer was up in his lane or anybody was there. But those charges in that fight allowed him to survive the Ion Shell damage. Imagine if he had not had the Magic Stick, didn't have the stats, and had gone down there to the Darkseer. That'd be a huge recovery boost for him, right? He'd be back into the game. Instead, he gets the Magic Stick, manages to get the kill. Meanwhile, we do see bottom. It looks like Raven with a solo kill onto Yaj's Faceless Void.
How is my question. He used Mana Void, but how does that happen? I feel like that should not happen.
Well, at some point the Void is kind of just sitting there with no mana because he's just been trading right clicks with the Anti-Mage. We're trying to avoid taking right clicks when he goes up, and then at some point I think AM probably knew that there wasn't any help coming for him because of all the commitment top. There were 3 HappyFeet heroes up top, and so to Raven that's a signal of, oh, I can go for the solo kill, there won't be anybody to help him.
Yeah, see right there, putting in some more right clicks, gonna force out the time walk from Faceless Void, but Raven, safe to say he's having a fantastic time. Not only great on the CS side of things, leading the way 63-15, but you know, the hero kill that he got, 4,000 net worth, him and Cuckoo on top of the charts together. Cuckoo already with the Soul Ring and the Arcane Boot. Seems like he's going a lot more of that traditional style of Alina, unlike what we saw last game. Expect to see that Bloodstone coming along pretty nicely. Alina.
I think he's a player that usually will go Bloodstone first. It's got several other functions this game, like in terms of giving the second wind to teammates. If they do have to take a fight, he expends his spells and it heals up, say, the Anti-Mage or anybody else to get off more spells. I think it's a pretty good fit. And maybe less so in terms of tempo, in terms of ganking. Like, this Lina feels like it might have a little bit of a different function from the other Linas that we've seen. Like, maybe less of tempo control, more of kind of holding objectives and countering aggression from HappyFeet and allowing your Anti-Mage.
They catch TA, the Laguna Blade finishes the job right there, but that was really all the Nyx and Jakiro that got in there with a smoke gank and completely caught TA off guard. Poured in from Razor, and that was just late. So that's that. I mean, that's a pretty big deal too, because now there's all this farm that JO's missing out on as the creep wave, you know, it's pretty far pushed up in the first place. Darkseer's now going to be a little more comfortable, so not only is that mid hero going down, but it just translates it to even a little bit more for TNC's favor.
Huge kill coming out from them. Like, another death on the TA. And, you know, this is... Benhor's got some farm, but these deaths, and then there aren't the ancient stacks. Their ancient stack's been warded right now by TNC to kind of slow this down. And then they don't seem to have too much access to their dire stack, just in the sense that they've been fighting on the top half of the map. That's where their wards are for HappyFeet. So they haven't really had a support presence over their stack. And you have the Faceless Void in lane. So that being the case, there really isn't much in the way of ancients for HappyFeet to clear. They'll find out at some point, the next time they stack this camp near their other shrine, Western Shrine, that it's even warded. So it's going to take some time.
this is a little bit of hindsight here, but kind of just more so later than would have been nice. But anyways, the point is on that draft right there, the final pick TA, the more I'm thinking about kind of looking at this lineup of TNC, isn't this a pretty good lineup against Refraction? And so, you know, you have Darkseer, Jakiro especially, the two heroes that really come to mind. It almost seems like that TA pick maybe it was a little ambitious.
Yeah, for Refraction options, there definitely are plenty, but it's kind of... this is a hero that can usually either do pretty well against Lina in mid after a while, and or just takes advantage of the flash farming space. If you look at the other cores for HappyFeet, right, if you're talking about something like a Razor, something like a Faceless Void, those are heroes that do not flash farm well. They flash farm very poorly, in fact. They're not good at taking Ancients, they're not good at taking jungle stacks. That's something that the TA fills, so allows them to take advantage of those extra resources that the other heroes wouldn't otherwise be able to.
Okay. See the Unstable Current kind of kicking it a little bit right there from Razor as they're going on him, but Static Link, nice surge counter, and gets him away, but still some 77 damage picked up for Razor. So yeah, they do not want to fight into that. Let that wear off if anything. Go back to farming. But Razor, speaking of him, he is level 9. He does have the Magic Wand. We're going to kill that Powered Tread, so just a lot of early build up here. How's that Battle Fury coming along? Looks like it's almost done, actually. Broadsword is the only thing left, about 1,000 gold or so needed for that. Nice to 9 the bottom tower, meanwhile, by JO. Razor does port in and takes it out right there, so at least a little bit something to be positive and happy about if you're HappyFeet. And Blink Dagger also coming along for Sand King at 1675 gold. Now saved it. But looks like TA I feel like has two decisions. Does she go for the Desolator first, or does she go straight into the Blink Dagger? Well, hopefully, for his sake, she was hoping to live right here, and it may still happen. Global Silence to thank for that. So she will stay alive, or else a Laguna Blade, I'm sure, perhaps was going to happen there. So, well played by the Silence there, good teamwork. But she is going the Blink Dagger. The point is, do you agree with that, or do you rather see the Desolator first?
I think it could go either way. I think the Blink Dagger is better for survivability. Like, there is a point now where they're looking for ganks on TNC. And with that refraction up, obviously, you can still blink away. So, if he goes for the Desolator directly, I think it's a little bit risky. Like, again, there aren't that many stacks for her to clear right now, and damage isn't really a concern at this point.
Faceless, yeah, not really sure what the plan was there. It was to get away, really, but the fact that he was kind of beating on them in the process seemed almost time-wasting. But he does get away, that's what matters. And the 5-man gank attempt, the Impel, unfortunately missed. You mentioned that earlier on, how it's hard to hit sometimes. And, well, he gets a second chance at it, and this time not going to be enough either, but perhaps enough in the long run as they're going to run him down. Good use of that Magic Wand, though, and it's not going to be enough because of that. So, Yaj will make his escape. Actually gets out of there, so Nyx Assassin even using the Vendetta cooldown right away to try to make that happen. But comes up short. He is going to counter ward, though, in the process. That's gotta feel good right there. How did they counter that? Oh, there's a sentry right here. God, I was looking for the sentry. It was right there all along behind the tree.
Yeah, I like the warding still from HappyFeet. They've done a very good job of maintaining deep map vision in the enemy jungle. Problem with that is, if they're still in lane, or like showing in lane areas, then the Nyx Assassin can just TP to a tower, or not have to start his ult from a very deep area where they can see his rotations with ward coverage. You can kind of start them at the tower. So, you know, but still, that's something that a positive takeaway for HappyFeet for sure. Like, they've been able to maintain pretty good vision, I think, this game. And there might have been some mistakes that they've made during the laning phase itself, but beyond that, in terms of vision, in terms of having a clear priority of where to set stuff up, I think they've done a pretty good job of that. Whether it was the left side of the Radiant map and base, basically, or the right side or in the jungle. They've had deep wards up for a good chunk of the game.
Lina, missed chance right there. Actually, if she catches the LSA on Faceless, very likely a kill with the Laguna Blade and the Dragon Slave, but just did not hit, so good job by Faceless reacting in time. But also, with all that said, the key items picked up earlier on. Bloodstone finished on Lina, Battle Fury finished on Anti-Mage, really at about 14.5 minutes is when they got those items, pretty much at the same time. And so now that window kind of, you know, starts to close a little bit for HappyFeet. Definitely still plenty of game left, potentially, but you really are now on a bit of that time window, right? Anti-Mage, especially with the Battle Fury alone, is that one of, you have to start making plays, have to get kills, even if it's not on him, just his teammates, or else he's just going to get what feels like to be almost unstoppable at a point later on in the game. So if you are HappyFeet, I mean, what is the game plan here? The TEA is already pushing bottom lane, but do they need to be looking to gank the anti-mage or just play aggressive? I mean, they are going smoking into the jungle.
Yeah, in terms of ganking the anti-mage, they may not have enough control for it. Like, they pretty much need Chronosphere and Sand King to do that. So while they are combing the jungle aggressively, looking to maybe catch Raven out of position and combo it with a silence, I think their best bet right now is to catch Raven while his HP is low in front of the jungle. But if they're not able to do that, then the next best option is to kind of take Roshan, take objectives, and force the anti-mage to fight before he wants to. That's kind of one of the ways you can pressure the AM.
Well, that's going to be nice because a great couple of catches right there. That Chronosphere, they actually saw Nyx Assassin going on through next to the Jakiro because of the Sentry Ward over there, and they just saw him long enough to get the Chronosphere. It only caught Nyx, but it got the job done in the end as they take out both, and it transitioned into Roshan. Their Roshan kill potential is decent, but apparently not good enough as, meanwhile, Sand King gets picked off middle lane by Lina, and that's the cue to fall on back, actually. So TNC gets a little something themselves out of it. Biggest thing is that their cores both stay alive and both will win, and especially the anti-mage, of course, throughout all that. So no Roshan, at least at this point. Darkseer does also have the Arcane Boots and Mechanism. Again, this is the Darkseer that had to go level 1 Surge first, but he's recovered just fine in this game right now. And point, he could even have a Guardian Greaves pretty early. A Blink Dagger, we'll see what he goes for. Do you think he needs that Blink on the Darkseer as far as initiation goes for this Radiant side?
Yeah, I think at some point, but I think right now he can focus on just farming up more of the kind of team fight utility items. I don't think they'll really need him for initiation purposes or for even like combo purposes for a little bit. So I think he ups his survivability and maybe works towards that Greaves first instead of needing that Blink Dagger so quickly. Like in terms of tempo, I think mostly the Nyx and Lina have done the work.
Something else I noticed about Lina, the level 10 talent. If we were to have like a stat in front of us, something tells me 125 cast range, at least one of the things this last month here, I want to say it would be like 80% at least, if not more. She actually does go the 80 light strike ray damage, excuse me. Instead, is there a logic to that, you think, or is it maybe just a player comfort thing?
Well, curiously enough, I would have thought that the cast range was a choice too, but if you've watched Sumail, for instance, he pretty much always gets light strike away,
okay.
Right? I mean, if you're not counting on dying, or if you have some kind of setup for your stun, and maybe the cast range is kind of, you know, maybe not so necessary, but it does give you a little bit more burst and light strike away, right? I keep saying away.
Yeah, I messed up. That's why I just stick with LSA for that ability usually, because it's just so much easier. Darkseer, by the way, the vacuum in with the wall. The Chronosphere does catch Darkseer, but he's kind of already done his job in a lot of ways. They may pick him off, they do, but at what cost now? Down goes Faceless Void. Epicenter barely tickles Nyx Assassin, but the Burrow Strike will help them finish the job. Anti-Mage is not here to assist either. But you know what? He's pushing the top lane and getting a second-tier tower kill in the process. So, again, in the big picture, it was a 2-for-1 exchange, but you also have to factor in the tier 2 tower at the top lane, really. And with that factored in, you can call it even, if anything. Maybe a slight advantage even for TNC.
Yeah, I mean, with that, like, Raven is now less than 1,000 gold away from his Manta style. And, you know, is that kill worth it if you're HappyFeet? I feel like they have to set up around objectives and kind of use their ults to defend. Not defend that, but to help them take that. But otherwise, it's not really like you get a kill on Nyx, okay, you get a kill on a Darkseer. He was already being shut down a little bit, but you end up losing a hero for it, and you lose the Chronosphere cooldown. The Anti-Mage feels that much safer on the map now. Without the Chronosphere there to threaten him, I'm like, are you going to be able to kill the Anti-Mage in just a Burrow Strike? Probably not, right? So,
yeah.
In that sense, I don't know, I think it's a pretty good trade for TNC. You're happy with like those heroes tanking a gank for you and trading their lives for more space for your carry.
That's just Nyx Assassin being annoying as he can be. Razor was TPing out right in front of him with the Vendetta, and he's like, all right, I'll just go ahead and stop that and walk away. So Razor has to take the long way as he starts running over now, but this could be costly if they find themselves in a little bit of a fight. In fact, Lina's running in. Oh, wow, she's charging out. The Burrow Strike misses, actually. So Cuckoo, this is that ambitious play. What is he? He's like counter-warding. He's like, all right, I don't even care that you're here. I want to kill the sentry, and he denies himself to top it all off. That just seemed, I don't even know what to think of what just happened right there, but that happened. So he's going to be up in a couple of seconds at least, but got the 9 charges on the Bloodstone. Okay, got up to 13 at least before that, so pause. Whoa, he goes Blink, by the way. Okay, you know, the way I'm reacting to that, but I've brought this up before as hold that thought because Nyx is caught over here, and that's a dead Nyx, and so a little bit of momentum for HappyFeet. But Blink Dagger on the Lina, I've wondered for the longest time why we never see this item on this hero, and I've never really gotten like an answer where I'm just like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. I feel like it's actually potentially pretty good on her. We see it picked up, the vacuum onto the ice path with a wall coming at as well, but the global silence screws things over. Lina, she cannot combo as a result. She's still running, in fact, trying to live her out as she has a regen rune at worst case scenario, but Anti-Mage is like, you know what? I'm here ready to go. Manchstyle also ready. He needs to use it right there as he's taking a lot of damage. Got to kill the Sand King, and the Mana Void comes out as well. Laguna Blade will help finish off the TA, the prime target in the midst of the fight. Now a 2-for-1 exchange in favor of TNC. They want more. They're going to get more. Silencer also picked off. Double tap for the Anti-Mage, and meanwhile, his teammates chasing now on a Razor. The Yules will catch him with the blink effect also coming into play. The Faceless Void Chronosphere, though, trying to save Razor, if anything, maybe going to turn kill on Nyx Assassin, but you got to be careful with that. Impale comes out, will miss. Jo keeping on running as he's moving pretty fast, but now Faceless Void is caught by the Ice Path, the long duration, despite being level 2, and they finish off the job on it, and this fight just really went going, and it ends up well in favor of TNC. You can just tell as soon as Anti-Mage got there especially, that's when things really went in their favor.
Yeah, pretty quick. You're looking at a 20-minute or so Manta style. The key to that fight is that the Darkseer started off with a great vacuum, and that forced the global from the Silencer. If he didn't silence there, they would have instantly lost 2 heroes, and there's no fight afterwards. So with the global committed, the HappyFeet basically reasoned, hey, we have to go and take this fight. You saw the Sand King channeling the epicenter, but TNC were already ready for that. They knew that there was silence. During global silence, they have no choice but to retreat, essentially, right? They're going to go into fight. So that allows them to kite away from HappyFeet and the rest of their control, and it isn't able to do enough in terms of damage or holding them in position to kill them, and then basically Raven just comes in for cleanup. So a pretty nice fight there from HappyFeet. Again, it was like, for TNC rather, it was like the start of the fight was so good for them that it kind of set up everything else.
Great scan, by the way. They allows them to get the kill on a Nyx Assassin. They saw it and they adjusted as a result, and they got the kill, but now Raven, oh god, he's back. The Mana Void tears up Razor, burned all the mana, exploded him to death, and also Faceless Void. If he gets got too, LSA, Laguna Blade, yep, he will. And they're both staying dead, in fact. Neither one has a buyback at this point. Basher, in fact, just purchased now by Anti-Mage, and it's going to be delivered to top it all off. So the fight for HappyFeet, again, they've looked okay, at least in the beginning, but then another one of the, well, that's not what the whole fight is. You got to, back to the whole fight there. When it finishes, in favor of TNC. But while we have a little downtime here, though, Jack, I'm very curious again on your opinion of the Blink Dagger on Lina. We never see this item on this hero.
Yeah, this is actually kind of one of the older builds that Lina used to have with, before, like, certain changes to Bloodstone, or people weren't getting Bloodstone on her as much, even as a core. They were just kind of going for that Blink, Yules and Aghanims, and you just have so much initiation range. But it's an item that it is kind of curious that it has fallen off a little bit, but it's because I think with the Bloodstone and with before the respawn talent, Lina's were thinking like this: I don't need necessarily the Blink to get into the fight or to get away from it. I come in, I Yule somebody, or I dump all of my spells and then I die for my team, and then we end up winning the fight. And the Blink, isn't necessarily for more of a cleanup type of role, or that kind of initiation where you're finding stuff. Like, you kind of go to objectives, and that's where the fights happen. So, but that said, though, with the Yules, like you see, like for example, Puck with the Yules synergy, it does seem like it'd be a great item for helping to keep her alive at times too.
Well, she tries to use her right there effectively. This time, though, it is going to get her killed because she went into a spot that the support was ready to help them out, and she's dead for 25, so the Bloodstone, again, taking effect right there somewhat, down to 8 charges now after it's all kind of played out here. But they're going to try to open up for the Roshan kill now. Faceless Void scouting out with the ward up here as well. But again, Lina's up in 10 seconds, so they could defend this if they really wanted to, but it doesn't seem like TNC is actually even interested in attempting to do so. They just want more farm on the Anti-Mage, try to finish that Abyssal Blade. Lina go back to farming herself, and we'll see how she keeps on progressing. Bots now taken care of, and the Shiva's actually queued up for her as well. Oh yeah, so one more thing to that as well. One point that I have heard to top it all off too, with the idea of lack of blinks on Lina, is the cast animation of her LSA, and the idea that a blink in and an LSA, it's not like a burrow strike. It's not like really just instant to the point where it'll catch you off guard really 99% of the time. The LSA cast animation makes it extra difficult for it to be an efficient item. And again, I guess I do get that, but we kind of even saw that right there. As Hero gets picked off. Oh, but look at that blink use to escape, actually, by, that was Darkseer. and he avoids getting caught there. But all goes back to, though, we see Cuckoo pick it up here, and it's kind of fun, you know, seeing such an item that you just happen not to see too often on that hero. But in the big picture here, Anti-Mage, very farm to 5th Blade. Is it actually finished? It is, isn't it? Wow. Good old Abyssal Blade coming out. We're 26 minutes into the game, guys. That's just ridiculous. But TA's not doing too shabby. Really can't overlook that. Hurricane Pike almost taken care of for her in this game. And she has the Aegis. So what can HappyFeet do here? Like, what's the play here with this Aegis at this point in the game?
Well, it's going to be tough now because all these heroes from TNC are very good at pushing the lanes out. So it's going to be hard for HappyFeet to like safely push out the lanes, especially with this Abyssal Blade capable of blowing up just about anybody. If they can't push the lanes out, they don't have vision. If they can't push the lanes out, they can't force where the fights are happening. They can't get to any of the objectives. It feels like they're going to be very much locked inside their bases at this point. Like, even these kills are kind of like space-creating vision kills more than anything else.
Well, speaking of getting kills, Nick's Assassin is picked off. Razor running down the Darkseer. They do take out Jakiro in the process, but now Lena's getting caught, and Cuckoo will end up falling. She actually denies herself in the midst of that fight. These global silences are definitely doing work here. That really got the initial kill on Nyx, and it kind of threw off TNC as a team. TNC was actually looking to engage there in that fight, and then again, the global silence was used. It's like they went panic mode, it almost felt like. So HappyFeet, that's another very good victory, and kind of going off what you're saying, they're now going to get work off of those, what was 3 picks in total in that fight, and now get a secondary tower here. And Templar Assassin, the snowball will continue. At another 1,200 or so gold saved out. Razor, the BKB, is actually getting close to being finished now in this game, and that's going to prove to no doubt be a very strong item. But BKB is also being worked on by Raven. On top of that, playing the Anti-Mage here. So, of course, an item that's going to be fearful for the dire side. However, Faceless Void with that Chronosphere, in one of those cases where maybe he doesn't care too much, and that on top of TA throwing in those right clicks of physical damage. I don't know if BKB is the end-all answer as it sometimes can be in games. In fact, the more I'm looking at it, BKB frankly feels underwhelming this game for the Anti-Mage here.
Yeah, a little bit. Like, if he's caught in the disable, like, he already has the Manta for the global silence. If he's caught in the Chronosphere, that's the key thing. Like, does he have the HP to survive? Can he be bursted down? I'm not too sure that BKB does any more for him other than that. I mean, he won't really do anything against the static link either. Although perhaps he's worried about the time dilation. If he does get debuffed with that after he uses his Manta, then he's got basically 1 blink, and that severely restricts his mobility in the fight. So that could be the reason that he's going for that. He can also more fearlessly go onto targets like the Sand King when he has a BKB. So.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
That was scary. I was kind of holding my breath on that one right there. Lena actually barely escaped in the top lane. She had to do a hell of a job to get on out of there. The Yules into the blink, and she didn't even go that far in the process, and they actually almost did end up finding her, but not the case. She is able to TP out and survives to waste a little bit of time. I was almost afraid too for the dire side that they were going to use a Chronosphere after she had already ported, but he chose to hold on to it, so doesn't have to wait the 2+ minutes here. Or it's back up again. Top lane, Lita is back up here, trying to see if she can get any stragglers remaining, but not the case. That Bloodstone is down to 5 charges now, so, and unfortunately for the TNC and for Lena, they're having that being used, but now this time, round number 2 at the top lane, can he actually escape again? The offensive yields the blink, he's good. Yep, he uses it in time, he'll on himself, keep the fiery souls added up. No, Sand King catches with a Burrow Strike, and down goes Cuckoo. He's dead for a minute. That's another set of Bloodstone charges costed there. I'm feeling a little more confident for HappyFeet, Jack.
Yeah, this last few minutes has looked pretty good for them. And there you see with the Blink Dagger, if he's not actively initiating onto targets, it may not even be able to help him escape because he's so squishy of a hero. She's so squishy of a hero in some situations, and then you kind of wonder, like, if she'd finished the Shivas or gotten something else, would that have helped her over this Blink Dagger? There's not going to be too many situations where she can initiate on the open map, at least in this game. Like, they're going to be looking for her in fights, or she'll already be at the front of fights, especially with most builds. So, not really able to take advantage of that and use it to keep propelling herself forward. Kind of just breaks that momentum with the death.
Well, dead for another 10 seconds right here. So again, really wanted to finish that Shivas, which will most certainly be good this game. Oh, Nyx is spotted right as as Sentry goes down, so Sansa just kind of walks it off. There is supports kind of nearby, so yeah, it would have been pretty risky by Nyx. I don't think Nyx is really in a position to be solo killing anyone this game with his build. All he has is Arcane Boots and a Magic Wand on top of that Wind Lace just to get places quicker. But he most certainly needs that backup. Ideally, something like Lena. Jakiro? I don't know about you, but it almost feels like Jakiro's felt a little underwhelming this game as far as his presence.
Yeah, the way 1437 plays him, he shows up to gank sometimes. In this case, you know, useful with the liquid fire in terms of getting rid of refraction. He can constantly harass towers as a support, which not that many supports can do. So he'll show up in the lane and start dropping that liquid fire onto the tower. Later on, though, this hero is more durable than most supports, especially in supports. That's something that definitely helps. And then the amount of control that comes out from this hero definitely helps as well in both counter initiation and as something that combos well with the setup from the Dark Seer and the other stuns. So there's the combo potential of this hero, and there's kind of the tower potential of this hero, even without many items, the natural durability. So a couple reasons there that 1437 likes it.
I like how Silencer built this early Bracer. You know, it's just kind of a nice stat item to have, but eventually, especially with the new patch that came out a couple patches ago, I want to say, of course, the Rod of Atos change that made it so now it takes 2 Bracers, that Staff of Wizardry and the pattern there instead, which I personally love, and I know I'm not alone in that boat as far as being a little bit more relevant of an item to be purchased now. So now he's not going for that right away, but my point is, you know, he gets it early on just for the stats, and now he's going to go for a Staff. Wouldn't be surprised if he then looks to go for it after that. That's a later game kind of kicks in here, but yeah, just having another kind of crowd control ability wouldn't be the worst option for this team. But for Staff, understandably, a very good and efficient item to have, as Clash going to happen up here. They see the Nyx once again due to the ward right there, and the Chronosphere on 2. However, the backlets Anti-Mage blows up the Faceless Void on the outskirts of its own Chronosphere, so that's a great catch in favor of TNC. They're also going to lose TA elsewhere. Oh, TA got picked up in the backlands. Was that actually Raven's the one that ends up killing him, but Lena, going to be surprised if she was a big part of that. Now they're trying to chase more. JL's running away, though. That will be the end of it, but there is no buyback on both of those heroes. TA's dead for 65 seconds.
Yeah, they're going to find out very short there's no buyback. There you see the BKB timing up on TNC. They immediately use that to go smoke and find a fight, and then I think HappyFeet had kind of a ganking party, a small ganking party going there. They wanted to look for a pickoff, but that doesn't work when your whole team isn't there. They got the Chronosphere up. There's no damage follow-up coming from it, and just like that, things that were looking okay for them, or at least a playable game for them. Just that one smoke gank with the BKB, no buybacks on the cores. That's going to be 2 sets of Raxes. And, that's going to put HappyFeet on the ropes. Potentially a 3rd set here, actually, if they decide to keep going. And they know that there's no Chronosphere, right? So even if the TA's alive, they're going to go for Throne, actually, it looks like.
The TA actually got a buyback throughout this fight, like at the very beginning, so I was wondering if we're going to see her use that, but she has decided not to, and in hindsight, she probably wanted to, because now this is potentially going to be Mega Creeps. The game's probably over just like that. It went from exactly HappyFeet to be like, okay, there's something going here, to now this game's over. It's 100% over. TA's up. There's a Hurricane Pike, and actually will kill Nyx Assassin, but that's just what is that? I mean, is that really going to do anything in the end? Not really. He's going to finish off the range racks, and just like that, TNC has Mega Creeps after not even having a single set of racks a minute ago. So TNC on their way to going 5-0 here in the round robin. HappyFeet, they're not going to give in just yet. You can't blame them, but there's really no hope at all at this point now. And yeah, it just all goes back to what happened up here. Not catching the key targets. I think Lena and Anti-Mage are those key targets in the Chronosphere. Didn't catch either one, and we saw the end result because of that. And it all just played out with no buybacks on top of it.
And just kind of think about how much pressure there is on the Faceless Void this game. He doesn't have a good lane, so he's not going to have a good start with his ideal items. He ends up going for Diffusal instead of, say, a Blink or something like that. And, like, what's the Diffusal going to do? It's not like he really gets a chance to right-click or do any damage in these fights. So there's so much pressure on him because he has to land, it feels like, an ideal Chronosphere with 3 or 4 TNC heroes inside that also puts them in position to burst them down in order for him to be useful. Other than that, like, what's the Chronosphere really do for you? It what are you setting up, and then you run the risk of, you know, with a couple melee heroes, not even setting something up particularly well either. So it's just a very difficult game.
It's kind of funny because now that I'm thinking about it too, I'd almost rather have seen the Faceless Void build swapped from these two games. Like, this kind of build made more sense in the previous game, where the one where he went the Vlads, you know, into the Blink, and you know, even the Ags as we saw, like that would have actually made sense this game, if anything, because they have the Razor, they have the TA especially, unlike last game where you know, they didn't have that right-click assistance for the most part. So, but you know, completely different team, completely different game, and everything going on, so you can't really look too much into that. But yeah, that's the other thing about it going up against an anti-mage as well, especially one that's getting a lot of farm. As much as we like to believe that HappyFeet actually still had chances in this game, and they definitely did, they were also going to have to play very, very, very good. You can't have any of those mistakes, because the second you have that bad fight where maybe you don't have a buyback, this is what happens with farmed anti-mage. Your base is just dead. And they're on the verge of actually winning the game. We are going to have one last ditch effort right here. They're going to get the pick on the Nyx Assassin. Anti-Mage, though, in the back lines, jumping in, though. Dark's here just simply trying to stay alive. Nice wall right there. The Surge not going to keep alive, but Anti-Mage with a BKB just tearing through everyone. Gets the kill on a Razor right there. Now he's going for his next target in that TA. See the epicenter going up, tickling him a little bit, but he doesn't really care too much. I mean, this is a beefy hero with that passive. 2,560 life on top of that. They get the kill on a TA. And now you see the GGs actually coming out. So TNC will go 5-0 here in round robin. Hey, I picked them to finish first place, just saying.
Same here. So our predictions are looking pretty good so far.
Got this so far here. They're looking good, though. Honestly, we've cast now, you know, I have at least casting this, what, my 8th game in Southeast Asia so far in these regionals. They are looking like the one team, if anything, that just is